Welcome to another episode of Fuck You Friday, brought to you by baby murdering raping bastards. And it gets better from there, but still fuck you fuckers. Sorry, I haven't made a Fuck You Friday video in a while. If you can tell, I'm in a completely different location. Why? Because I bought my first house ever. Hell fucking yeah! I rule. But aside from that, I also can't find my digital camera. So I'm going off my webcam for now. So if the quality isn't nearly as good, even though my lighting and situation is a lot better now, I apologize. So yeah, there's that. But on to the story of the baby raping, murdering bastard, Stephen Smith. He looked over at the baby while drunk and started to use the little baby girl to sexually gratify himself. He claims he didn't realize, being intoxicated and all, that he was killing the baby. And he did just that. He killed a little baby girl while raping it, and doesn't believe he deserves the death penalty. Well, the governor didn't agree with you. The mayor's going to come forth for this. Dude, no politician is... No. You raped and murdered a little baby girl. You deserved to die. He is dead now. Thank all things holy. Yeah, dude, fuck you. I mean, fuck you. If anyone has ever deserved a fuck you in the history of the world, it is definitely you. Multiple fuck yous for all of eternity for the horrendous shit you did. I mean, you raped and incidentally murdered a 6-month-old baby girl. We need to remove you not just from society, but all of fucking life. You're dead, gone, goodbye. You will not be missed. And now the rest of the stories will begin to intertwine. There's this school in Suffolk, Virginia, where they suspended 2 7-year-old boys for pointing pencils at each other and going bang bang. Fuck you. You're fucking morons. Now, one of the things they said was that boys don't play cops and robbers anymore. Yes, they do. They play it now than they ever have in all of human history. And when I say cops and robbers, I mean any role-playing type game, whether they're imitating first-person shooter games, like any kind of virtual game, or whether they're playing it in real life. They're doing it more now than ever. It's something that all 7-year-old boys do. It's their way of imitating things on TV and in movies and in video games and other media cultures that allows them to use their imagination. But we can't have little boys using their imagination. That's a horrible thing. Oh, you bad little boys. Okay, so, fuck you, stupid teachers. And it's funny because the mom's talking to the teacher, and she goes, okay, my boys are in trouble for doing this. I understand. They were told at the beginning of the year that they couldn't do this. Were you actually in fear of your life? Did you actually seriously think they were going to be violent or start a school shooting or anything along these lines? The teacher's like, no, but they broke the rules, so now they have to be suspended for 2 days. And it's like, wait, why didn't you just pull them aside? Well, we can't do that. We have a no-tolerance policy. Oh my fucking... Jesus, they're 7-year-old boys, okay? You only told them this at the beginning of the year, okay? They need to be reminded daily to brush their teeth, comb their hair, basic stuff they do on a day-to-day level. But you're only going to mention this thing at the beginning of the year, and Hope they remember. Yeah, I'm actually going to quote from the school system itself now for a minute. Here's what's actually said. This is a direct quote. It's a teachable moment. It's not a suspension moment for a 7-year-old. D. Bruin Parecki said, you call the boys aside and you explain to them why it's not appropriate to do this in school. That makes a lot of logical sense. Now, pointing a pencil and making school shooting noises could be considered a legitimate threat to some students. No, it's not. You're a fucking moron. And you know who said that shit? Bradshaw. That's the principal. There are fucking morons teaching teaching young minds. And you wonder why no one has respect for your authority. No one has. I constantly hear complaints about how students don't respect teachers anymore. And it all started back in the 70s when they said that you couldn't spank children anymore. Yeah, that's a correlation. The reason that students don't respect teachers anymore is because the teachers aren't worthy of respect. They go in and they don't even do their fucking job, but they take in paycheck after paycheck. They don't care about educating or teaching. They become, in the words of Philip DeFranco, grading robots. And I'm going to post a link down below where this Texas student was telling off his teacher saying you've got to do more than just hand out packets. Because that's all she did. Hand out the packets, you do the work, you hand it back in, that's it. A teacher needs to do more than just give information. A teacher needs to be able to inspire children. Okay? To inspire young adults. To inspire adults, depending on the educational level of the teacher and the classroom. That's a teacher's job, and if you can't do that, you don't need to be a teacher. You need to be able to set an example. You need to be able to inspire children. You need to be able to provide them with accurate information, and you need to teach them how to decipher between accurate information, someone's opinion, and someone just making up shit. There's a difference between a scientific theory and someone's hypothesis, which is sometimes referred to as theory, but it's not a real theory. It's a hypothesis. And you need to make children and students and whatnot aware of the fucking difference. But teachers, they don't fucking do that anymore. They just say, here's the information. You know, even there are teachers who will just read from the teacher's guide, the teacher's edition of the book. That's what they go by. They can't use their own minds to go outside of that. They can't provide any additional information. What's in the fucking textbook? And if you can't do that, once again, you don't deserve to be a teacher. And suspending kids for pretending a piece of toast or a pencil is a gun or something. These are things that are ingrained in our culture. And just because a little kid goes pow pow with the little thing doesn't mean he's going to murder the whole fucking school. Which, once again, segues into my next story. The 7-year-old, when he took the pencil and went bang bang, was in fact imitating his father, who was a Marine. Now, in my next story, the fuck you goes to Logan City School. Middle school, in fact. Because a student wearing an NRA shirt with a picture of a gun was told to remove or reverse the shirt. He said no. This pissed off the teacher. Now, this was at lunchtime. He went from homeroom school, or homeroom class, all the way to 5th period lunch without any teacher saying anything about his shirt. And he wore this shirt, okay, that says, protect your rights. And he wore this shirt because he thought that the Second Amendment was at serious risk during current legislation. That legislation is covered in another Fuck You Friday story. Like I said, all except the first story are connected in one way or another. The teacher said, remove the shirt. The boy was trying to engage the teacher in a debate, which he should do. It's like, it's his shirt. He's explaining why he shouldn't have to take it off. The teacher doesn't want to hear it. He says, take off your shirt now. He says, no. And he doesn't have to. It's not against a school policy to wear a shirt that has a picture of a gun on it. Nowhere in their school policy does it say anything about that being against the rules. But the teacher was adamant, and the teacher got the help of a police officer who said, if you don't remove the shirt or reverse it, you're going to be arrested. In which case, this is exactly what the teen did. He held up his hands and said, go ahead. And the cop arrested him. So fuck you, police. Not just any police, but fuck you, Logan City Police. You stepped outside of your job descriptions, and so did the teacher. Because this wasn't about an inappropriate shirt. First of all, this is one of the most appropriate shirts to ever fucking wear into school. It's about the Second Amendment, okay? The Second Amendment is ingrained into our culture and our legal system. The whole purpose of the Second Amendment is to be able to protect ourselves against tyrannical rule, which is exactly what this teacher and this cop were enforcing. Tyrannical rule. Would not listen to the students, would not hear anything he said. It's just, I said this, you must follow my command, or else. Rah! And he wasn't afraid or intimidated by their bullshit tactics, because he knew his right. First of all, this is not just a Second Amendment issue. This is also a First Amendment issue. He has the right to speak out and protest against things. He has the right to wear a shirt that displays his personal feelings about stuff. Whether you like it or not, he has that right. Just because a shirt is controversial does not mean it's against the dress code policy. The dress code policy of the school says nothing about the picture of guns. It says violence. A gun is not inherently violent, just like a sword is not inherently violent. A sword is also a symbol of peace, of strength, of will. Especially if the sword is cast downwards behind a shield. Now, they said he was under arrest for almost inciting a riot. Again, I'm going to quote a source here. What the video shows is that the student did step on the benches to the tables in the lunchroom when they were escorting Jared out of the building. Kids jumped up, clapping. Teacher said to get off and be quiet, and they did. Now, that doesn't sound like he was starting a riot. It sounded like the school body supported him for not just submitting to the rule and authority of a teacher going outside the scope of the teacher's role. And the cop trying to enforce that, that's just equally wrong. But the students have a right to voice that opinion in unison or not. That doesn't make it a riot. No one got violent. No one said to get violent. No one said to riot or anything of this nature. But that didn't stop them from pretending like, oh, well, he's disrupting school. No, the teacher raised his voice when the student didn't immediately comply with the order. The teacher was the one who made the scene. The teacher was the one who disrupted the school. If the teacher had simply listened to him when he said it's not against the school regs. The teacher should have gone double-checked and then found the student, who was in the lunch line, which means he's going to be at lunch. You know where he's going to be. It's not like it's that much trouble for you to go and find or to have called to the principal's office or gone in and checked with the office to see if there's anything wrong with the shirt. But no. This was about the abuse of authority. That's all it was. Abuse by the cops and abuse by the fucking teacher. Fuck you, cop. Fuck you, teacher. Fuck you, school system. And you wonder why students don't respect the teacher's authority. This is why. Now, the student was never put in jail. He was booked, he was charged, and then 30 minutes later, he was released to his mom. This was a phony arrest. This was a phony arrest to intimidate the kid to always listen to the cops. Well, you know what? A lot of the times, the cops are wrong. This was an illegal arrest. The kid did nothing wrong. He just didn't listen to the people who had no right to tell him what to do. In this situation, a cop doesn't have the right to stop you on the street and tell you to reverse or take off your shirt. They don't have that right. They don't have the right to tell you while you're at a political rally or a presidential speech to take off a shirt or to remove it or to leave. They don't have that right, okay? Because a shirt itself is not going to cause the person who's up there to not be heard. It's not going to start a commotion. You're going to be the one who draws the attention. You're the one who's going to be disrupting the speech, and you're the one who's the total asshole, and in violation of the First Amendment. There shall be no abridging of the freedom of speech. What part of that do you assholes not understand? Now, I understand that in a school system like a middle school or an elementary school, you can't go to school wearing a shirt with a naked woman on it. I understand that may not be appropriate, so you should tell students not to bring that in, but just to have a picture of a gun on your shirt is not a violation. It's not a threat of violence. It's none of that crap. The fact is, the teacher just didn't like that it was supporting the NRA. So once again, fuck you, teacher. Fuck you, cop. This is nothing but an intimidation thing. Which segues into my next story, which is fuck you, NRA. Fuck you, NRA. Fuck you up your stupid fucking ass. The NRA is now trying to claim that school shootings happen because of video game violence. I don't even know where to begin with how fucking ridiculous this shit is. Okay, but let me start off by quoting them here. And here's another dirty little truth that the media try their best to conceal. There exists in this country, sadly, a callous, corrupt, and corrupting shadow industry that sells and stows violence against its own people through vicious, violent video games with names like Bulletstorm, Grand Theft Auto, Mortal Kombat, and Splatterhouse. Jesus fucking Christ. How fucking dumb are you? This is a really, really cheap scapegoat. It's not the NRA's fault that people shoot other people. It's the video games industry. Well, you know what? It's neither one of their faults, okay? Because way before there was an NRA, and way before there were video games, people fucking killed one another. Whether it was with a gun, or a knife, or other shit. And a lot of the times, people who are killed by guns are people who are defending their families from being raped and murdered. Not necessarily in that order. So, you know, when a guy breaks into a house like he did 6 times earlier that week, late at night, to kill the father, rape the mother, rape the children, and kill all 3, and the 7th house happens to have a man who has a gun and grabs his gun because he hears someone burglarizing into his home, and he points it at the guy, who then lunges at him, and he shoots and kills him, and he no longer goes around house to house murdering and raping people. Well, that guy died of gun violence. I'm not sad he died. Just like I'm not sad that the baby murdering asshole died. I'm not sad that these people died. I'm not. I'm really not. But playing games like Medal of Honor, uh, and what were some of my favorites? Let's see. Duke Nukem, yeah, Duke Nukem doesn't make me want to drink Coca-Cola. Playing Duke Nukem later didn't make me want to drink beer or to shoot aliens down. Neither did watching the movie Independence Day. I'm sorry, but even very young minds, as young as 3 and 4, realize that what they see on TV isn't little people in a box. They realize that it's all pretend. Everything from Bugs Bunny to Roger Rabbit, okay, to G.I. Joe. Next, you're going to tell me watching G.I. Joe starts school shootings. I was 7 years old watching G.I. Joe, and for some reason, G.I. Joe was fighting the Cobra just outside of a school. I mean, here's the school, and in the field of the school, you have 2 armies fighting each other. Now, why they're directly next to a school building, I don't know. I don't know how that could ever really work, but G.I. Joe didn't, it didn't really matter because it was G.I. Joe. Yeah, and all that shit. So I was 7. There's only so many cartoons I could watch not having cable. And I'm watching G.I. Joe, and it's an open field. You have G.I. Joe here, you have the Cobra over here. There's nothing between them, and they have laser bullets going by, and nobody falls down dead. And I'm thinking, how dumb do they think I am? When you point something, it's a straight line. You can see your enemy. He's straight right in front of you, and you can't hit him. And if you get hit with a big giant laser beam, you're likely to die, because a laser beam in the mind of a 7-year-old is going to be far more deadly than a fucking bullet, which I know kills people because I saw it on the evening news. Isn't that interesting? I see people die in the evening news, but that doesn't cause people to do school shootings. It's not the violence in real life that causes school shootings. It's video game violence. What? Are you fucking kidding me? Okay, let me put it to you this way. Once again, if watching TV and playing video games, which is pretty much the same thing, because it's still watching it on the same major device. I'm recording this, and every once in a while I do tend to look up, and what I'm looking at now is me on my own fucking TV. My TV is hooked up to my computer, and I'm watching me on TV. I watch Philip DeFranco on TV. I watch Space Jenners on TV. I watch the Mighty Ducks cartoon on TV, but that doesn't make me want to be a hockey player. The fact that I like hockey makes me want to be a hockey player. The fact that I can't ice skate means I never will be a hockey player, not professionally anyway. This is called real life, people, and we know the difference between video games and real fucking life. It's not like we get confused on which one's which. We know the fucking difference. Okay? And the people who can't are usually locked up because they're already doing other really batshit crazy things. And you can kind of tell who the batshit crazy ones are because they start talking really, really fucked up like. And you kind of get a sense of which ones aren't really all there. They're not making any actual sense. But aside from that, okay, aside from the fact that we all knew that the Lone Ranger wasn't a real person that we were watching, like, live, we realized it's a TV show that comes on every day at 7 o'clock. And what was important was that, everyone wear their Lone Ranger hat and had their little toy pistol thing, because that was essential to watching the Lone Ranger. I mean, come on, people. What makes video games so special is that instead of just watching, okay, people do things on TV, you can actively control what's going on. You can control your character. You can decide whether or not it's smart enough to go down this road or that road. And things like Grand Theft Auto, I can't tell you how many times I didn't think the fucking police were behind me, and woo, they come up right behind me. Girls were interviewed and said that we're talking about 14-year-old girls who said that they learned about real-world consequences from playing games like Grand Theft Auto 3. Now, yes, you could pick up a prostitute. Your car went up and down, obviously indicating sex within the vehicle. And when she got out, you ran her over and took her money. We know this isn't going to cause anyone to pick up a hooker and then kill her, okay? Because way before Grand Theft Auto 3, people did that. Why? Because those people are assholes. But it's different in a video game. Why is it different in a video game? Because we know it's not fucking real. We do things in a video game that we would never do in real life. Why? Because sometimes it's a stress relief. Sometimes it's just using your imagination. Okay? There's no way in hell in real life I'm going to jump from the top of one building over to the top of another building. Why? Because in my video game, I fucking died 8 times. Most people don't believe there's a real reset button on life. We don't think, well, if I die, I'll just do it over again. You know, there's no save function in life. Like, I'll click on this button, and now I'm alive again. No, it doesn't work that way. We know it doesn't work that way. When someone loses an arm, they can't, I lost my arm. It's gone. It's not like they pick up a heart picture and, oh, my arm's back. It's not like they can go to the doctor and the doctor fixes it, you know. And when I say doctor, I'm talking about Fallout Las Vegas now. Or if your arm's blown off, crippled, you can just go to the doctor and he heals you or use a med bag. Picking up a med bag is not going to give you your arm back. People fucking know this. Okay? People know this because they see people in wheelchairs and disfigured, and they're not going to get better. And they see this, and they know this in real life. And they know that video games are fucking video games. They know this. This is obvious shit that I have to explain to these people. Or maybe I don't. Maybe they know they're completely full of shit. But in no way does video game violence actually translate to violence in the real world. Now, some of you are going to go, but there are studies. Yeah, there are studies. But it's not a violence. They had kids play a bunch of violent video games, and then they recorded how aggressive they were. Being aggressive does not translate to being violent. They are not equal. They are not synonyms. We see kids are more aggressive after these video games because being aggressive in any kind of competition is going to increase your chances of winning. It doesn't matter what it is. If you're aggressively studying, or if you're aggressively running to the finish line, or if you're aggressively playing hockey, you're going to be scoring more often than the person who's not being very aggressive. Aggressiveness is required for competition. So yeah, when they had a bunch of students sit in front and play some like MMOs, massively multiplayer online games, yeah, they were more aggressive, but whether that translates to actual physical violence is another thing. It's not like they play these games and then try to murder their fucking student body. That's not what happened, but people want to find a result. And then we'll change the wording, or they'll manipulate the wording so that it means whatever the fuck they want it means. That's not real science. So I'm sorry, but there actually is no real credible study that shows that video game violence has anything to do with school shootings. And every time there's a school shooting and they said, oh, well, this person had violent video games. Yeah, they also had toothpaste too. Are you going to tell me that toothpaste causes people to go out and murder each other? No, because it would be fucking stupid. And it's the same to say that about anything. A song will not force you to kill someone or influence you to kill someone. A movie will not convince you to go out and kill people. But here's my ultimate proof. Here's my ultimate proof that nothing you see or hear influences you to be violent, whether no matter how deviant the rap song is. In 2005, James Taylor came to Cleveland. There was a concert, and I really, really wanted to go to this concert, but I couldn't because I didn't have the money. I was working and going to school like I am now. Jesus fucking Christ. Anyways, the next day after the concert had gone on, now this is James Taylor. If you don't know who he is, look him up. Go to YouTube and start typing in James Taylor and start listening to all these really violent songs he has. You know, this. Hopefully my sarcasm is really laid on thick here. Go listen to those violent songs he has, like "You Got a Friend," and think about how violent that would make a person. Now, someone left the concert and was carrying a picnic basket. That shows you the violent crowd that usually goes to listen to his music. And the picnic basket brushed up against somebody's car. And this person just flew into a fit of rage and beat the shit out of the guy with the picnic basket. Now, it didn't scratch his car. It didn't damage his car in any way. It just brushed up against. It's a picnic basket, and it touched his car. And this caused the guy to go into a violent rage and beat the snot out of the guy. You know, because James Taylor makes everybody violent like that. Once again, real thick layer of sarcasm here. And the guy who beat the crap out of the guy with the picnic basket was an off-duty police officer. Which is really funny, because earlier I mentioned Grand Theft Auto, and so did the guy from the NRA. But if you do a Google search, which I'm fairly sure you'll find, is that a lot of police officers played Grand Theft Auto 3, and it de-stressed them. They actually blew off a lot of steam playing that game, where they too were shooting at police officers in the game. Now, they didn't go to work after playing Grand Theft Auto 3 and started shooting at real police officers. Now, why is that? I wonder. Maybe it's because people are not so dumb as to realize the difference between imagination and realization. Reality and imagination are two separate things. And most people who are not schizophrenic know the fucking difference. So fuck you and your bullshit scapegoating. Goddamn. Fuck you. Now, in addition to this, once again, segues into my next fuck you. The next fuck you goes to Obama. He tried to shame the Senate and the people for supporting his bill, and the shame he used was the Connecticut shooting to pass his legislature to ban certain kinds of guns. Now, first of all, the guy who did the shooting did not get the gun legally. He took the gun from his mother's cabinet. Then he took the gun to where she worked, shot her and a bunch of other students. Now, why did he do this? Is it because there wasn't gun legislation? No. He did this because he had a very abusive mother. This mother constantly berated him and let him know that the students that she was volunteering with were far more important than her own flesh and blood son. She was trying to get power of attorney so she could have him locked away in a mental institution for the rest of his fucking life. So we have an abusive mother, then we have his freedoms being trying to be removed by said abusive mother, and he fucking snapped. Well, no shit, so would anybody else under this circumstance. Now, the person in question, I believe, had autism. Okay, so he's mentally deficient in some form. Okay, we already know that there's something up here isn't normal with everybody else. Now, on top of that, he's being abused. On top of that, he's being told how worthless his life is and how these other people are so much more important than he is. Now, on top of that, his freedom, his life, everything he knows, the few things he has good in his life are going to be taken away, and he's going to be locked up for life because of his abusive fucking mother. No wonder he fucking snapped. Now, all the things I said was only done within 30 seconds or less, what I described. In reality, he had to face this day after day after day after month after month after year after year after year after year. He was an adult. And all this full time, this whole time, he was under the subjection of this abuse and neglect and this torture from his own mother. The one person in the world who should love him unconditionally. Fucking rejected him at every goddamn turn. So no wonder he went to this school and shot her. These kids were so much more important to her than he was. She wasn't even getting paid. She was a fucking volunteer. Okay? And these kids were more important to her than he was. So yeah, he snapped, and he shouldn't have shot the kids, but he did. And then he put the gun on himself, because what fucking life was he going to have after that? Or before that? He had no fucking life. It was stripped from him. No fucking wonder he shot people up. I'm not saying he's a good person. I'm not saying he was justified in what he did. But at some point, there's a fucking level of understanding. When you're fucking tortured like that, when you have everything ripped away from you, when you see everybody else happy and glory and go-lucky and free, and so on, and the people you who are supposed to love you completely fuck you over like this, no wonder he went fucking insane. No wonder he did what he did. Who the fuck could stand that kind of shit and not do something horrendous like that? Who? Okay? So I'm sorry, but you taking certain guns off the market, which weren't even used in the shooting, is not going to stop someone from doing that. The whole I'm sorry, Obama, but fuck you. You're turning a tragedy to get your own fucking political motives. Through fucking Senate, through the Senate. You know, fuck you. It was a horrible thing that happened on every single level, except for the mom. You know what? I think the mom probably deserved it. I'm not sad that she died. I'm sad that the kids were hurt, because they had nothing to do with it. And I'm sorry that the shooter is dead, because he shouldn't have been subjected to that shit. I'm sorry that happened to him. It's all around fucking tragic. Okay, it really is. It is that tragic. But fuck you, Obama, really. You're going to use that tragedy to get your own political agenda through the Senate? Really? That makes you an asshole. And yes, this is coming someone from who voted for you. I voted for you, not once but twice. And, you know, fuck you. And no, I'm still not sad that I voted for him. I'm pissed off at the Republicans for not giving me a legitimate option against Obama. And fuck you, Republicans, because you try to fuck over Obama at every turn. You refuse to work with him so that it would look like he's a bad president, when in fact we have a bad Republican Party. And the Republican Party has actually stopped being a Republican Party. The Republican Party should just flat out call itself what it is, the Christian Party. So fuck you too. I'm fucking pissed off at pretty much most of my representatives. Okay, and one of the Republican representatives that I actually had respect for is saying, look, the system's fucked up. I'm not wasting my goddamn time with it, and is no longer running as a representative in my state. I want him to. I want to be able to vote for him, and I can't because he won't run, because the Republicans and the Democrats, they won't work together. You assholes need to fucking work together. And you need to stop this bullshit of using tragedies to propel your own political agendas. It makes you assholes, and it makes you victim mongers. And obviously, fuck you, Castro. Don't use a sad, childhood to justify throwing women in your basement to abuse and rape them. It wasn't because you had a sad start on life. Okay? It's because you were an asshole. Now, I know that the one sort of contradicts the other here, but it really doesn't, because you're talking about someone who was completely being bombarded by bad shit happening to them, okay, and then finally snapping. What Castro did was, yeah, okay, so maybe he had some bad things that happened to him. Maybe that affected him into his adult life. That happens with everybody. The difference is you continue to do this for 10 years to these women. And it doesn't matter to me if she was 14 or not when you kidnapped and raped her for 10 years. It doesn't matter if she was 20 or 30. You raped her. And on top of that, you imprisoned her for a decade. Not once did you seek help. Not once did you feel sorry or remorse for what you did until you got caught. You're not sorry for what you did. You're sorry you got caught. So fuck you. Now, I'm sorry for a lot of the things I've done in my life. I'm legitimately remorseful for those things. Okay? I admit that what I did in various situations in my life were wrong. And I constantly remind myself of the things that I did wrong so that I never do them again. And when I catch myself doing something that's wrong, I stop dead in my tracks, I apologize for what I did, and I try never to do it again. Okay? You, on the other hand, just kept doing it until you got caught. Because you were afraid of the consequences. You know what? Sometimes we should receive the consequences. That we should be like, look, this is what I did. It was wrong. I deserve this. I understand. I can't blame you. Obviously, I don't want these things happening to me. But you know what? I did wrong, and you need to fucking punish me for it. Or we need to set this right. Or I can't work here any longer. Or, you know, along those lines. Fuck you, Castro. You're an asshole. You deserve everything you're going to get. But you know what? I hope he doesn't get the death penalty. I do not want him to get the death penalty, regardless of what they find at this point. I want him to never leave prison. I want him to stay in prison, okay, and live out his entire sentence. And I hope he's going to get 8 back-to-back, actually, no, sorry, 10 life sentences, a life sentence for every decade those poor women had to endure. 10 life sentences back to back that he'll have to serve out in prison with absolutely no parole or possibility of early release. That's what I want. I do not want him getting the death penalty. Giving him the death penalty lets him off easy. I do not mind paying taxes so that Castro spends the rest of his natural fucking life behind bars. Fuck you, assholes. This has been Fuck You Friday. Feel free to leave comments. Feel free to click the like button. Click the favorites. Click the dislike button if you didn't like this video. Leave a comment, but please, make it honest. Put your honest opinion. That's what I ask for. You can hate me to the very core of my nature, but at least hate me honestly. Have a good day.